All right. Ooh, there we go. Oh, I'm a daughter of the King. I am recovering from drug and alcohol addiction, codependency, grief, and a hypocritical spirit. And my name is Tricia. For those of you who don't know me, this isn't my first time doing this, so it may appear like I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. This is my fourth time doing this, and I didn't want to drag up 30 years of stuff. All the details of it, I should say. So hopefully this all makes sense to you. I was born in Anaheim, California, 1968. My parents divorced when I was 5, and through their new marriages a few years later, I gained a second brother and 2 sisters. I had my brother David, who was my whole brother. By the time I was in junior high, I was painfully aware of the unwanted attention that my parents got me, and what I mean by that is I developed very early, and it was not fun. No matter what anybody might think, it was not fun. Because of that, I was sexually abused by my stepbrother. I was raped by my full brother, and physically harassed and physically assaulted, I should say, by other girls all throughout school. Started in like 3rd grade because of jealousy, because this boy looked at me instead of her, and it was not fun. I didn't reveal any of this to my parents. My mom, I told her after I had become a mother, and my dad I never told, because I had already felt abandoned by my dad growing up, and it just pulled me further away from him. Because of all of this, insecurities about who I was and my abandonment issues began a destructive cycle in my life that would lead me to unhealthy relationships, friendships, including both of my previous marriages. During my first marriage, it was really bad, until one day, after an oral surgery, I doubled up on the pain meds that they gave me, and every bit of that went away. And I liked that feeling because I wasn't sad, I wasn't mad, I wasn't anything. And that made game on. And for the next 25 years, anytime I was in a situation, relationship that I didn't want to face or it was too painful, I looked for whatever substance would take that away. Sometimes multiple. I got to the point where I literally could not stand what I saw when I looked in the mirror. And so I sought it out even more. If I literally couldn't see it straight, then it didn't exist. And it's kind of hard to go through life like that. The choices I made during my active addiction seriously damaged my relationships with my 2 sons. My youngest son, I was still in the process of making amends with him when we lost him. My addiction led to the end of 2 marriages, almost destroyed my current marriage to Dale, and almost cost me my life, quite literally, when I accidentally overdosed on a handful of pills that I had no idea what I was taking, and ended up in the emergency room via ambulance. And the one thing I remember the most about that night was being wheeled out of the apartment that I had been in to the ambulance and seeing my husband standing there staring at me with a look on his face I'll never forget. I couldn't tell you what he was feeling, but I know what I was feeling was shame, every bit of shame. And everybody up to that point thought that it was deliberate, that I was trying to take my life. Well, I wasn't. I just wanted to forget what I was feeling. And somebody offered me this pill out of this pill pack, this one out of this, and that was it. I, most of the time, didn't care what it was as long as it made me not feel anything. In 2019, we lost my youngest son, Christopher, as I alluded to, and my life spiraled completely out of control. And for the next 11 months, I tried to drink myself to death. There's no other way to say it. At that point, I did not want to live anymore. Losing my child was more than I could bear. It hurt more than trying to save my marriage, which a few months after Christopher died, my husband couldn't stand what was going on with me anymore, the lies, the cheating, I don't mean cheating, the stealing. I had been stealing money out of his wallet after we had separate bank accounts, And that led to him finally, he had to get a safe to lock his wallet up at night and in the morning so that I couldn't take his money. During that time, that 11 months, we had separated. I went down to Arizona to stay with my oldest son and his family, but the geographical didn't change anything. But despite all of that, despite everything I had done, God hadn't given up on me, and neither had my husband. A year after we lost Christopher, I realized, I heard God speaking to me, asking me if I was done yet. And I knew it was time to go home, and God was still waiting for me. My husband was still waiting for me. And on the night of our 11th wedding anniversary, I flew home to my husband. Psalm 40, verses 1 and 2, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. I first read that verse long before I even thought about recovery, even before we moved up here. And it stuck with me from the first time I read it. Through CR. So after I flew home, we had conditions on me coming home, and it meant I had to get into treatment for myself, not for anybody else. And I did. And I had everything set up within 24 hours of Dale saying, this is what you need to do before you can come home. I had never done anything so quickly, positive things so quickly as I did over that 24 hours to get insurance, to pay for the treatment, I got it all set up, and I called him. I said, I've got all this done. Can I come home now? And I went through treatment. I did intensive outpatient through Set Free. And then I started back here to CR. And over a few years, I had here and there spottily come to CR. And I knew Angela was part of it. Shay and Michael were leading it. I made a couple of feeble attempts to do a step study during that time. In fact, I found both of those sets of books the other day. But coming back, it was, this time it was for me. And through CR, I've learned that having a sponsor and some great accountability partners, they are a vital part of my recovery. They keep me on track, call me out on my BS if the old behaviors start coming back, and cheer me on in my victories. But the most important thing that I've learned is that I have a forever family that held me up when it felt like my world was crashing down around me again. This time it was the unexpected death of our 4-year-old grandson. Okay. This is me and the ladies singing happy birthday to Braxton on his 6th birthday. Happy birthday to you. They helped me honor his memory 2 years after he was gone. Happy birthday to you. Love you, Big. Braxton's death completely rocked our world. You can never prepare for that. And the only thing that comes to mind, or the first thing that comes to mind when I talk about it, is the old saying, stop the merry-go-round, I want to get off. Had it been a couple of years earlier, I would have done exactly what I tried to do when I lost my son. And that would have been anything and everything to not feel it and for it not to be true. Because if I thought losing my child was bad, losing our grandchild was tenfold. Oh, gosh. I'm sorry. What I had no idea was that for the previous 18 months, 18 months of sobriety, God was preparing me to be able to withstand losing my grandson. I had the tools. I had a loving, supportive husband. I have my CR family, and they literally held us up. Having that support having that support meant everything. And for the first time, the night that we found out, instead of running away from everything, I ran to CR. And what I had learned up until then is to stop holding in the things that were hurting. Stop trying to push them down. And the first person that saw me when I walked in that night instantly knew something had happened without me saying a word. And through the tears, I was able to talk about it. And I continue to talk about it. I know, as I did with losing Christopher, one day I will be able to say Braxton's name without crying. And part of that is working through step studies. I think I've done 4. Through that, my relationship with Christ and others have grown exponentially. Acknowledging my character defects has never been an easy part of it, but it's also the most necessary part of my recovery process. And one of those I mentioned or qualified myself by saying I was recovering from a hypocritical spirit. I spent years throwing people under the bus, especially on social media. If your name appeared in a Trooper Dispatch or Wasilla PD report or anything like that, I was going to make sure the entire valley knew what you did to make sure nobody saw what I did. And the first time I was able to admit that out loud, it felt like the weight of the world came off my shoulders. Because my husband had been telling me for years, what you say on Facebook is going to come back and bite you in the butt. And it did. And it did it in a big way. Oh God, I lost my place. Today, I am more aware than ever of how I treat people, how I speak to them, and how more importantly, how I think of them. I have learned that I am not better than anybody else. Our stories might be different, but our stories are the same. And I've met a lot of the people, personally met them, the ones that I threw under the bus. Some of them I work with now, and I work in the recovery field. In fact, I worked for True North. And I have had the chance through this to make amends with some of the people that I threw under the bus. And it's been amazing. And it's taught me to, like I said, to be more aware of how I treat others, how I speak to them. And today I can stop myself. I can tell when I'm starting to do that by usually the first thought that pops out of my mind. And I've learned to stop that when it happens, when it starts. And, oh gosh, hold on one second. I know that if I don't, the enemy is going to use it to take me backwards. And I don't want to go backwards. More and more, because I'm listening for it, God's guiding my words and my actions. And when I'm smart, I listen, because he's never guided me in the wrong direction. I absolutely love helping others, but I've also learned that what I consider helping isn't always that. It's always been more about control and being right. It's like, I know the right way to do this. And the craziest thing was, for a few months when I was down at my son's, it was as simple as teaching my grandkids how to load and unload the dishwasher. And all of that stuff was codependency. Trying to show everybody that I knew a better way, how to do everything. Show my son and my daughter-in-law that I know how to parent better than they do. No, not a chance. Today, the way I do things is different. I'm learning day by day to ask people if they want help, ask them if they need help, and listen to them when they say no. And it changes the way I interact with them. Instead of trying to push what I think is help on somebody, if they say no, say okay and walk away. Or just talk to them. I don't have to be in the middle of everybody's stuff anymore. I think I got way off track. I'm really sorry. I'm going to close with this. Something that I've said previously when I close, to the old timers, you have continued to show me, you show me and continue to show me that there is hope. And so for all of you that are new, I don't care if it's hour one in your sobriety or 18 months, the newcomers, you guys are the ones that continue to give me courage to keep coming back. And I don't know who needs to hear this tonight, but one of our grandsons lost one of his best friends. Our grandson is 16. His friend was 14. On a Monday night, he took his life. And our grandson has been this amazing mouthpiece for God. I don't know what other way to say it. And he's trying to turn that into something positive. And what he's kept saying, and I've heard him say it multiple times today, is that no matter how you feel, no matter what you think, if you think you're not worthy, you are. There is somebody out there who loves you just because you're alive. And if it's just for one day, hold on to that. That's all I got. I took the wrong thing off.
All right, that's okay. You needed to add a little bit of extra there. You were a little short. Yep. So there's those of you that have been with us a while, that have completed step study. You already know. I don't need to tell you. There's a guide for how to write your Celebrate Recovery testimony. You should grab it. You should do a rough draft and let me review it. Doesn't mean that you have to give your testimony this month or next month or in 6 months, but be ready to give it, because sometimes having it ready, God might shake you up a little bit and say, hey, guess what? Tonight's the night. And maybe our media for a video testimony doesn't work. You should have it right there in your hot little hand and be ready to give it, because your testimony is not for you. Your testimony is for the people who are just trying to get to the place where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's for the person who thinks, man, I've maintained my sobriety for 6 months. Life is lousy. People suck. I don't think I can keep doing this. Your testimony is so that people, no matter where they're at in their recovery, can see that we don't ever get to a place